Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Regina and Friends Crime Chat. We have a lot to go over tonight. So let's do this and then let's get into it. Okay, so on the agenda tonight, well, hello, Low 12. Hello, Connie. I'm so glad you guys made it. I don't know if anyone has heard the breaking news. Of course, we all know it's been everywhere. The Alec Baldwin trial for manslaughter, um, for the shooting on the movie set Rust. For that, we know there has been one person already prosecuted. Well, hello, Davy Jones, Lisa Kruger. Good to see you guys. We know that, and I'm going to butcher her name, but Hannah, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. She was the armorer. Yeah, Sammy is having a cookout with friends. So, Sammy, shout out, girlfriend. I hope you are having a lovely time. I hope you're having fun, and I hope you're eating some good barbecue for me. Oh wow, Lisa, you're only 40 minutes away from the trial. Or rather, should I say the past tense trial? It's been dismissed. This is like blowing my mind, but Alec Baldwin got his entire case dismissed for manslaughter against him after there's already been one person prosecuted. All right. Yes, have fun, Sammy. Connie, that's cool. That's cool. Sammy's gonna love that you said hello to her. She's a part of who we are. We love Sammy. Right, Davy Jones? So you guys, and we're gonna do Collins on this. Ooh, yeah. Chris Daughtry, dismissal of the Baldwin case. Exactly. Exactly. It's good to see you, Chris. It's good to see you, Davy Jones. Everyone that's here with us. If you haven't already, please hit that like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell. It helps feed the algorithm. It's all for the algorithm. Wow, Davy Jones. No, I did not. Davy Jones said, "Did you know that the victim's father was the commander of the naval base in the movie The Hunt for Red October? Was the home port of the submarine Red October?" No, I did not. How interesting. How interesting. Okay, so I'm actually sharing the wrong thing first. Do y'all remember this? What happened to the armorer? Do y'all remember what happened to the Hannah girl, the armorer, during the trial? This is only a 10-minute long video. This is Long Crime Trials, where you can find this video. The link is in the description below. We're going to go over this real quick, and then we'll get back to some comments and stuff. But I just want to remind everyone what happened with the armorer in this trial, in her trial when she was convicted.
Anything else? No, you're right.
All right, so I've made some notes along the way, so if I refer to the notes and I'm not looking at tables, it's because I'm reading. First of all, thank you for your presentations. Thank the friends and family of Helena for presenting their memories and their losses of Helena. There are really three choices for sentencing before me. What the defense wants is a conditional discharge. This means straight probation, unless Ms. Gutierrez comes back on a probation violation. She won't have a felony conviction on her record, so she can continue to possess firearms. Again, unless she comes back on a probation violation and receives the imposition of the probated sentence. The second one has not been offered by counsel, but I've certainly thought of it, and it's to continue her in the Santa Fe County Detention Center. That would be for 12 months. That's all she's allowed to stay at the detention center. And then put her on probation for the rest of the time. She's facing 18 months. She's got pre-sentence confinement for about a month or so. In this scenario, she won't experience prison. She will be a convicted felon. She cannot carry a firearm under federal law and for a specific time under New Mexico law. And then there's prison. And the state has proposed at 85% of the time sentenced to incarceration based on the serious violent offense statute. For all the fanfare and pundits and finger pointing that has been going on for over 2 years.
All right. Chris, that's a very good observation, and that is true. But here I have an argument to that, if that's okay, that I would like to present. And that's why I'm pausing it right here. Alec Baldwin has been on many, many movie sets. He has had many guns pointed at him. He has fired many guns on a movie set. And regardless of who messed with that gun before it was placed in Alec Baldwin's hands, he himself would have never, under any circumstances, because he has self-preservation, have picked up a gun without the proper channels of safety being taken and let it be pointed in his direction. He was producing this movie, and I hate to say it, but the fact that he was producing this movie and the fact that SAG regulations were not followed as they should have been, this does come down to holding him liable. And even though I think that Alec Baldwin, I think that fame has played a large part in what happened today in his case. I think that anytime you pick up a weapon, period, and you point it in the direction of other people, and you pull that trigger and you fire it, not knowing yourself. Well, first of all, I understand in this circumstance it's a movie, but you should never point a gun at another person. The fact that they decided to use real weapons instead of props, this all could have been avoided. If you're gonna go all gung ho and use real weapons, yes, Chris, exactly. He's liable civilly at least. If you are going to produce a movie and have real weapons and have either the dummy rounds or special, you can go with special effects nowadays. Really, if you want to get technical about it, there's no reason to ever, I understand wanting to be the whole as realistic as possible, but I mean, we've all seen deep fakes and what they can do with computer generation today. I mean, this could have been avoided. It could have. He was the one paying for the production of this movie. He should have made sure himself that the safety protocols were being followed as they should. Everything that happened on the set that led to death was a SAG violation. And for those that don't know what SAG is, it's the Screen Guilders Association. Thank you, Chris. Exactly. Exactly. And he was the one producing this movie, is why I think he should be held accountable. But that's just my opinion. I haven't seen that, Davy. I haven't seen that. But we have a Discord, by the way, you guys. We have a Discord for everyone on our community page. Now, we don't do drama and all that. We don't do all the memes and things like that. We just talk mostly true crime. Some of us are friends and we do have more in-depth conversations, but it's a true crime Discord. Um, y'all are welcome to join it. And we have rooms, like if you find something interesting, you can post stuff in there. Um, and stuff like that. If y'all like talking true crime and y'all like, sharing and comparing notes, because that's what Crime Chatters is. That's what we do. We talk true crime. But there's a Discord if you would like to join it. Like, I'd like to see that link. You know what I'm saying? That video that you're talking about, Davy Jones, that would be awesome. Yes, it's on our YouTube. If you go to the main YouTube page, Regina and Friends Crime Chat, there's a community section, and it's under the community section. You can find a link to the Discord. That's also where our members only Discord is as well. But I rent movies and stuff like that, and we watch them on the community site when you're members. I mean, on the members page. Of course, we show true crime shows and stuff in the community page Discord, but the members page is like more one-on-one stuff. And I rent movies and stuff and buy movies and show over there. But okay, back to what we were talking about because I've already got all sidetracked. Let's finish watching this real quick. This is what happened with Hannah, the armorer.
We were able to seat a jury of her peers who confirmed they could listen to the evidence received in court and determine the facts and apply the law. They found Ms. Gutierrez guilty of involuntary manslaughter. What were some of the poignant facts that came out during the trial? In her police interview, she proudly owned her position as armorer. On October 21st, 2021, chaos ended after the film crew walked off. Ms. Hutchins and others were trying to rig, if you will, how they were going to keep filming. And what was the defendant doing while waiting? She was loading Alec Baldwin's gun. Did she have enough time to load the weapon safely? Plenty. Did she load the weapon? Yes, with dummies in a live round. Did she check what she was loading? No. Why? Well, in her own words, most recently in her jail calls, she didn't need to be shaking the dummies all the time. Did she check after that? No. And while you've heard her concerns about how she'll never work again as an armorer leading up to the trial, have her concerns changed? No. Here's what she says. This whole thing has been a character attack on her. Just recently in her allocution, I'm not a monster. And what did, where is it? They talk about how much of on the phone, she and another are talking about how much of Hannah's life that they could take up and that this is messing up her modeling career. This is while she's incarcerated waiting for a sentence. And what does she say about the death of Helena? Hannah is dismissive of the judge talking about someone dying as a result of her actions. Hannah says she's looking at 13 months, which is ridiculous over what happened. Hannah says that people have accidents and people die. It's an unfortunate part of life, but it doesn't mean she should be in jail. A conditional discharge is not appropriate. And the second option of leaving you in the detention center would be giving you a pass you do not deserve. I did not hear you take accountability in your allocution. You said you were sorry. You were sorry, but not you were sorry for what you did. You were sorry for it and hope they can find peace. It was your attorney that had to tell the court that you were remorseful. The word remorse, a deep regret coming from a sense of guilt for past wrongs. That's not you. You're hereby sentenced as follows. Stand. I am sentencing you to 18 months of incarceration at a New Mexico Women's Correctional Facility. I find that what you did constitutes a serious violent offense. It was committed in a physically violent manner, a fatal gunshot done with your recklessness in the face of knowledge that your acts were reasonably likely to result in serious harm. You were the armorer, the one that stood between a safe weapon and a weapon that could kill someone. You alone turned a safe weapon into a lethal weapon. But for you, Miss Hutchins would be alive, a husband would have his partner, and a little boy would have his mother. Please take her.
Okay. So there we go. Hello, Ginger Girl. Good to see you. Judge said, hey, you were the last thing that stood between a person and a loaded weapon. But, and she sentences this woman to prison time. Okay. But here's the question I have. If Alec Baldwin has been handling weapons in movies, well, for a lot of his career, he has experience with this. He's the one producing the movie. So who paid for the live rounds on set? How did the live rounds even get on set? But not only that, he pulled the trigger in a rehearsal scene that he didn't have to pull the trigger in. Let's not forget that. But today we have this. This bothers me. This bothers me greatly. Let me see if I got this set up to where you guys can see it. Okay. Alec Baldwin cries as judge dismisses Rust case in shocking twist. The judge dropped the involuntary, and this is from People Magazine. You can find it in the link below. Okay, in the description below. The judge dropped the involuntary manslaughter charge on Friday, July 12th, after the actor's defense attorneys argued the prosecutors had buried evidence. Alec Baldwin burst into tears as the judge in his Rust case dropped the involuntary manslaughter charge against him Friday, July the 12th, after his defense attorney argued the prosecutors had buried evidence. The late discovery of this evidence during trial has impeded the effective use of evidence in such a way that it has impacted the fundamental fairness of the proceedings, said Judge Mary Marlowe Sommer, explaining in part her decision to dismiss the case with prejudice, which means he cannot be retried if her ruling stands. Before the jury was brought into the courtroom on Friday, the third day of the trial, Baldwin attorney Luke Nickus, however you pronounce it, I'm terrible with names, sorry about that, you guys, asked for the case against his client to be dropped, claiming that prosecutors sat on evidence that would help shed light on how live ammunition was brought on the set of the Western movie Rust. Hmm. Alec Baldwin's wife, Hilaria, with tears in her eyes, hugs him after his lawyer asks judge to dismiss case. Baldwin, who was indicted by a grand jury in January, was rehearsing a scene on the set of the movie when the gun he was holding discharged. Okay, it didn't just discharge. It didn't just discharge on its own. That's the problem here. And I truly feel, with his history and background on movie sets with live guns, real guns, not just props, that he knew better. He knew better. Endangering director Joel Souza, Baldwin has insisted in his interviews he did not pull the trigger of the gun or know why it contained live ammunition. Baldwin's lawyer claims a man named Troy Tesiki, however you pronounce it. I'm terrible at names, you guys. I told y'all that. A friend of Theo Reed, the father of convicted Rust armor Handa Gutierrez Reed, who was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter for loading a live round into Baldwin's gun, turning over ammunition to authorities that he thought was connected to the case. We're talking about a prosecution that didn't preserve those bullets, that didn't collect them at all, that didn't turn them over, he said. This is critical evidence in the case that was never disclosed to us. We are entitled to it, Nika's father said, or Nika said, sorry. I was looking at the statement above it still. This case should be dismissed, Your Honor. And it did get dismissed with prejudice. But I have questions about this. After a lengthy recess, Summer heard testimony from witnesses including Seth Kinney, the Rust Props firearms supplier, as well as Corporal Alexandria Hancock of the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office. Hancock works in the office where Teske, however you pronounce that, allegedly dropped off the ammunition. During one tense exchange, Baldwin attorney Alex Spiro asked Hancock if she was hiding any more evidence. I don't think I've hidden anything, Hancock replied. Hancock admitted that the ammunition Tesk handed over was filed separately from the other Rust evidence. She also told prosecutor Carrie T. Morrissey was involved in talks to file them separately. In a stunning move, Morrissey called herself to testify under oath and explained why she didn't think the ammunition handed over was considered Rust evidence. Under questioning from Baldwin, blah, 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 attorney Spiro, she admitted that her co-prosecutor, Erlena Johnson, had resigned earlier that day. He also asked her, "You just don't like Mr. Baldwin, do you?" Morrissey replied that she appreciated Baldwin's politics as well as the acting he did from Saturday Night Live. Really? That's where you know Alec Baldwin's acting from? Saturday Night Live? Okay. Judge Summer issued her ruling shortly after Morrissey left the witness stand. Earlier in the day, during a recess in court before the judge made her decision, Baldwin and her family members, including wife Hilaria, brother Stephen Baldwin, and sister Beth seemed Kushler, however you pronounce it, seemed pleased with the way things were going. Well, I bet she was. I bet they all were. Baldwin and Hilaria hugged several times, and Hilaria smiled and laughed with those seated near her in court. Stephen approached Baldwin, I keep saying Baldwin, Baldwin attorney Alex Spiro in the hallway outside the courtroom and told him, "You have made us so happy. We are planning to celebrate." So I pose this question to you guys. Do you think, right, Davy Jones? Exactly. I agree with that. Know your target and what's behind it. Never point the gun at something you are not willing to destroy. I completely agree. And keep your finger off the trigger. Exactly. Exactly. I personally do hold some accountability, personally, for Alec Baldwin, even though his case was dismissed with prejudice because that gun didn't just go off by itself. It didn't just go off by itself. I have an even better question, and this is the one that really gets me. The question in all of this that blows my mind. Why were there any kind of rounds in the rehearsal? Why were there even dummy rounds in it? It wasn't shooting time. They were rehearsing. Why? Why were they even using live rounds? It's ridiculous, in my opinion. If you want to know how a firing arm is going to look on set when you fire dummy rounds, don't you have prop guys and stuff that test the weapons and do all of that? Why did you even need? Right. Exactly, Chris. No need to even load the weapon before rehearsal. None. So regardless, now we don't even know the facts actually on the live rounds and how they ended up there because it's all been brought into question by the state. And even though Alec Baldwin funded this movie and for some reason decided that, they had to fire the weapon during the rehearsal, none. You don't even need you. Does the bride wear her wedding dress for her wedding rehearsal? No. You don't need. Oh, it was. It was Chris. But here's the thing: they just dismissed Alec Baldwin's case on the ammo and how it got on set because the prosecutor was withholding evidence. There she is. How did your barbecue go, Sammy?
Pretty good. Yummy, yummy.
Yummy, yummy. Did you eat enough for me too?
Yeah. Oh,
Yay!
goodness. I ate too much. I
You
ate
ate too
way too
much.
much. Yeah.
So, we're covering the dismissal of manslaughter charges against Alec Baldwin today. The Rush trial.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about it?
Well, I can't say really a whole lot about it because I'm not really sure of all of the processes involved in like keeping the safety. But from what I understand, there were issues with people that were supposed to be in charge of all of that having a problem working with him. So I'm not so sure, you know, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's got to be relieved, but at the same time, it's like really where does the accountability truly lie?
Yes, Sammy, I have to let you know, Connie came in here and said hello to you when you weren't even in here.
Oh, hi, Connie.
It
I
was
was
awesome.
chowing down on a burger from my husband has a Blackstone grill and he cooked out all the fixings, man. Oh, but I mean, where
Okay.
does the accountability lie? And I trust that the judge made the right decision. I don't know, but all in all, I mean, someone lost their life, right?
Hello, Mystic Jinx. Exactly. Someone lost their
Hi,
life.
Jinxie.
Part of the evidence in the Alec Baldwin trial that I do believe has come into play, if I'm not mistaken, from Hannah being convicted, is what just got Alec Baldwin his case dismissed. Okay. Or am I tripping? Am I tripping or am I imagining this? Did I misunderstand it somewhere along the way? Or did the judge just discriminate with prejudice the charges against Alec Baldwin and dismiss them?
It doesn't. I don't understand it. I just don't understand. I guess if I understood the whole process better of like what actually took place and what's supposed to take place,
Well,
I
she
might have a
dismissed it
better
under the
understanding.
Brady. She dismissed it under the Brady law.
Okay. Where does that leave us? What are we left with as far as any of these legal terms I'm unfamiliar with? So explain that for some people that don't understand what that is.
Uh, the Brady. I'll explain it to you, and then I'll look it up and explain it to you even better. I'll pull it up with my Google skills. But the Brady law is essentially law that allows a case to be dismissed with prejudice. And what it is it protects from corrupt prosecutors. Like if there's evidence planted, it can be proven, then your case is dismissed. If there's misconduct by the prosecution and they withhold evidence from the defense, or if evidence is tampered with and stuff, your case can be dismissed. But here, I'll pull it up because I want to give y'all guys more than my understanding of it.
I know Jinx is pretty familiar with that, all that stuff. We dealt with a case for a long time, and we were constantly hearing all about that.
Okay. I use Cornell for a lot of my stuff, Cornell Law School. I think you do pretty good. So the Brady rule, hold on, let me pull this up for everyone so they can see it. Brady rule. The Brady rule, named after Brady versus Maryland, requires prosecutors to disclose material, exculpatory information in the government's possession to the defense. Brady material, or the evidence the prosecutor is required to disclose under this rule, includes any information favorable to the accused, which may reduce a defendant's potential sentence, go against the credibility of an unfavorable witness, or otherwise allow a jury to infer against the defendant's guilt. Initially, the Brady rule was only applicable if the defendant made a pretrial request for specific information which the prosecution denied. In United States versus Bailey, however, the Supreme Court eliminated this request requirement and stated that the prosecution has a constitutional duty to disclose all material favorable information in their possession to defendants, regardless of whether it is requested. The duty is breachable regardless of whether that information is withheld intentionally or unintentionally. If a Brady Rule violation is discovered during trial, the court can either declare a mistrial or prohibit the prosecution from using unfavorable evidence, which could be discredited by the withheld information. Because the Brady Rule inherently invokes a lack of information on the side of the defense, however, violations of the Brady Rule are typically only discovered after the defendant is already convicted. As a result, the most common outcome of the Brady Rule violation is overturning that conviction. And here's the question I pose for everyone, and this is what I'm going to ask. Since this has come out during this trial, okay, and it's amazing that Alec Baldwin's attorney was the only one able to achieve this, but well, I guess you get what you pay for, right? Do you guys put a one in chat if you think there's a chance for Hannah Gutierrez? I'm terrible with names, y'all know that. Put a one in chat if you think there's a chance that she can have her case overturned now. I'm curious. Do you guys think that she can have her conviction overturned because of this prosecutor's conduct?
I see a one.
Oh, 12 says one.
But I don't understand. I am so lost. Okay. What was done to cause them to be able to use that?
Okay, Alec Baldwin's attorney is saying that evidence was labeled for two different things in the case that had to do with the live ammunition. And because it was mishandled and mislabeled, and the prosecution knew of it, that under the Brady ruling,
Oh, for
yeah,
sure. For sure, she needs to have another look at that. I mean, for sure, she's got a chance of having that relooked at because if that was the case and that's what they made their judgment based on, there's a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Wouldn't you think so? Or am I wrong?
right, Ginger Girl. But what I'm saying is, if this evidence in question was withheld during her trial, and it was Alec's attorneys that brought this information to light. Yes, I agree with that. or because Brady law does still apply. I mean, it does apply. Brady law does apply because even though she has been convicted, I'm wondering if
Well,
she
isn't
can't
that what
get
they call a Brady violation or something somewhere along the
prosecutorial
line?
misconduct. Yes, and the
Yeah.
prosecutor. If I am I tripping, or is it not the same prosecutor? Okay, so I'm mistaken. I'm mistaken. This evidence was withheld by the defense attorney in her case.
Oh boy. Boy, I guess she's screwed, eh? Mhm. Well, there has to be some accountability here. I just don't know where it lies.
And y'all don't think that Alec Baldwin, the producer of this movie, who has all this experience with weapons on set and knows the safety procedures and stuff, y'all don't think
Trust
that he should
trust
be?
and know.
I'm just curious if
She
y'all think he
she
should be held accountable. He
trust
funded
and
this.
know she is eligible to appeal. So she's able to appeal. She has a lot
Based on
of
this same Brady violation, is what I'm saying.
hmm. Wasn't she in charge of all of this supposed safety measures?
Yes. What I'm saying is,
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. I really believe that they have discovered the accountability, where it lies, and unfortunately, that's how this stuff goes down. I mean, that's why they have you in place to take all of the precautionary measures needed to ensure something like this doesn't happen. So
yeah, that's
somebody
kind of
had to
how
go
I'm
down.
feeling about it, Trent Briggs. Alec buys justice and Hannah sits in jail.
That's true too.
Right.
Yeah,
She is, you're correct.
unfortunately.
You're 100% correct, Ginger Girl. She is the armor and ultimately is responsible for the safety of others on set. But I believe, as the producer of the movie and having experience himself with weapons on a set, that Alec Baldwin should be held accountable too. They didn't even have to use rounds of any kind or ammunition of any kind for a rehearsal.
If she made that purchase, that was definitely on her to ensure that there were no live rounds. I hate to say it, no matter what, even if someone else alongside of her was found to be also accountable, um,
Yes,
ultimately
I
that was her
completely
job.
agree, Ginger Girl. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, me too.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the one thing all of us can agree on is if you are the boss and you are in charge, it is your job to hire people, if they are going to be working under you, that can do their jobs properly. And if not, you are liable for the people that you hired to do the job.
And so, what if somebody else brought them without her knowledge? That's what Davy Jones is asking. Is that possible? I mean, is it something that, is she allowing others to come and go? Do they know where she keeps her stuff? I mean, is it a wide open thing on set? I mean, I really don't know.
I agree, Davy Jones. It's negligent, but no more than AB. They are both equally responsible. That's how I feel.
See, in the beginning of all this, when as I was finding out small details, I told Regina, I said, I think he's going to be held accountable for this because that is his set. That is his thing, his baby.
She has to check all bullets that goes in the gun. That is true. She is. But what's even more important is all of the guidelines for SAG were not followed on this set.
I wonder if her family, if
Alec
the
Baldwin made this a dangerous set by the people he chose to bring on.
mm,
Exactly. I mean, I do too. I agree. I think they should both be held accountable.
well, I thought in the beginning that he was accountable all the way through, not realizing or knowing how everything works in all that.
Davy Jones, exactly. Exactly. If somebody tells you it's a cold gun, you don't test it by pointing it at a person and pulling the trigger. I think, yeah.
Right?
My dad told me to never pull the trigger of a gun unless you knew that there was a chance you could kill what was on the other end of it.
I was taught that always assume the gun is loaded.
Yep. As a matter of fact, my dad said you never point a weapon at another person, period, unless you aim or know that you could seriously end their life when you do so or hurt them badly. You just don't. He said, as a matter of fact, if I ever found out that you pointed a weapon at another person and it was anything other than self defense, I'll disown you. So,
And I guess we could argue about it all day and all night, but the fact remains that, you know, somebody was accountable and nobody wanted to be held responsible for that, but everybody was there.
you know what, Davey?
Anybody.
I completely agree with Davey on that. And he lied about how the trigger got pulled because guess
Oh,
what?
really?
You had to cock, you had to cock, you had to cock the gun before you fired the gun.
For
I said
real.
that right. Yeah.
Oh. Ugh. Walt.
What gets me is Alec has experience, you guys. This is the part that bothers me most.
Oh, he has a
He has
lifetime of
years of
experience.
experience
Right, right.
with guns on sets. And he would never, ever die from having a weapon pointed at him on set. Now, would he? Do you know why? Because he is not going to do the work. He is not going to act if the safety precautions that he should himself, as the producer, put in place and held his standards that he would hold his people producing the movies that he's been into. He should have held those same standards because he was producing that movie that he would have held another producer in a movie he was acting on to. Absolutely what I think.
I'm just a little curious. How much did he trust Hannah to have her doing this job? Or was this just somebody to fill somebody else's shoes? Do you understand what I mean? How much I mean, if that was me, if I was some kind of director or a producer or anything, I would want to know my people and I would want to be able to trust them. And I don't know what kind of, was he just going based off of like her reputation, or did he truly know her to be and trusted her to be responsible and okay with her being in charge of all of that? I just don't understand it.
Why would he think the gun wasn't loaded
Right.
without knowing himself whether or not it was loaded?
Brandon Herrera,
If you're the
the
one
brand.
handling the weapon, if you're the one handling the weapon and you're the one with that weapon in your hand, it is your responsibility, not just the people on set whose job it is, but you, I believe, the person who has the trigger in your hand, are responsible for knowing, God forgive me for using this word, but damn good and well that that gun is not a threat to other people, because you are the one holding that weapon, period. And as the producer, I hold him doubly to that standard. But that's just me. Like I said, other
That's
people
a
have
shame.
different opinions of it.
Ginger Girl said, I heard he asked for her because he knew her father. And Davy Jones says, as I understand it, Hannah shouldn't have been hired for lack of experience. As I recall, she was hired because her father was a famous armorer. Yep. And that very often happens in this business.
Yep. That is how it happened, from what I understand.
Oh, that's so sad because then that's even more weight on the fact that Alec Baldwin really was accountable in so many other ways. You know what I'm saying? That's the person bringing these people in, right? And if
Right,
they were
Davy
not,
Jones? Doesn't that blow your mind? How does someone who
yep.
has been an active voice in the community, speaking on the evils of guns, gonna end up in this situation at all? That's wow.
Well, this is a prime example, though, of it's who you know, you get the job, and this couldn't have been the worst way to practice that. I mean, it costed someone their life.
Yep.
And whereas people like that go, I would have been making sure that whoever was in charge of that aspect of my productions, I'd want to know darn well that I absolutely could trust them and that they knew what they were doing. And if they didn't have the experience required, I don't care who they know. I'd be like, this is not an area you can chintz on. Sorry.
Exactly, Davy. And what man doesn't safety check a gun? Sammy, give me just one moment. I'm gonna let you take over for just a second. My eyes are floating, so I'll be right back. Read the back chat. Read the
Oh,
back
yeah.
chat. Okay.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, I do believe that him getting off scot free is not okay because I do believe it is ultimately, if it's no one else's responsibility, it is his responsibility to bring in people of that caliber that are in charge of people's lives. That's basically what I would amount that to in my book. I would want to make absolutely certain they had the experience I wanted them to have and to know that they had a good track record in that experience because that would tell me whether they're fit for the job or not. And it's pretty obvious none of that thought went into any of that. The video I referred to is titled Testing Alec Baldwin's Revolver Theory by, blah, blah, blah. I just said the guy's name. I'm sorry. Let me go back and look. Y'all are with me. She left you with me. Brandon Herrera. And I've never ever watched any of his stuff. Hmm. And they didn't let her cocaine use come into court. Oh, that's lovely. Lovely. And in this field, it's like, we know people have histories of drug abuses, majority of them, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time. And I understand that we're all see people trying to make a better life and do better, and we support them. But this was totally, oh my Lord. There's no way. There's no way. If I didn't know that person was there's no way I'd hired that person just because I knew their daddy. I'm sorry. I couldn't have. This is a position where people are truly, honestly in charge of your life, like protecting your life. But I have to say, I honestly feel like he does hold some culpability in all of this. I
Davy
feel like,
Jones. Now that I've got it pulled up, I know exactly what video you're talking about. Hold on just a second and let me add this link um, to the description and give him full credit for it. But yes, I've seen this. Hold on just a second. Let me edit this. Add the link in the description to give him credit for it so everyone knows it's there. Oh, I don't want to schedule it for later. Hold on, what's going on? Okay.
what you doing?
It won't let me do it. Oh no. Oh no.
What?
Okay. It won't let me edit it. I'll have to edit it after the live stream. I'll put the link in the description below. But here is the link that Davy Jones is talking about. And he's kind of right. I mean, this is like
Yeah. Yeah.
by the way, my husband watches Brandon Herrera too. He's a big fan of Brandon Herrera. So yeah, I know who you're talking about. We'll put this on 2x speed and let's check this out real quick. Whoops, I guess.
And well, for the camera person. Tom, just kidding. I paid Lance way too much to be here. But this, what we are filming with today, is the model 1873 Colt Single Action Army in 45 long Colt made by Pieta. This is the revolver that appears to have been used in the infamous incident involving Alec Baldwin on the set of Rust. Not this exact revolver. That one is probably in an evidence locker. Today we're going to be putting a couple of myths to the test as far as like with this revolver. Can it be fired without pulling the trigger like Alec Baldwin claims it was? But aside,
No, that gun is destroyed. That gun is destroyed. Didn't they destroy that weapon, testing it to see if there was any way, even if they beat it with a mallet or whatever, if it would fire off on its own? Isn't that what happened to that gun? Yes. Yep. So
Yeah, I
let's
want to
test.
hear how it works.
Yep. This is actually a revolver. I mean, all of us who are familiar and grew up with weapons, guns, especially revolvers, know how they work. But yeah, we're going to watch this real quick.
aside from that, this is just a wonderful piece of history. So we're going to respect it for that because this was a very cool weapon before it was used by some Hollywood dipshit to shoot someone. So with that in mind, let's channel our inner Emilio Estevez from Young Guns and put this through her paces.
To the town of Alafria, not a stranger one fine day. Hardly spent to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one Their task is business, all there to make her slip. For the stranger that I'm open, said the big iron will kiss you. Big iron will kiss you. It was early in the morning when he rode into the town. He came riding from the south side, silly looking all around.
There's a new sheriff in town, and he hasn't ruled out manslaughter charges. Now, if you guys recognize
Wow.
See, I had a hard time understanding how it wouldn't fire if you didn't cock it, because some of the revolvers I've seen in my lifetime, if you pull that trigger, whether the hammer's cocked back or not, it'll fire.
Well, the whole thing about a revolver is whenever you cock the gun, you're actually pulling back the firing mechanism. And when you
Right.
touch the trigger is whenever the pin is released of the firing mechanism and it hits the round on the rear end and causes the explosion, which ignites the gunpowder and sends the bullet flying out of the gun. There's no
Because
way.
the only I've had
There's no way this
a
weapon. Listen,
I've
look.
had
It's
a,
also a safety mechanism.
yeah, that's what I
Now
was
you
wondering.
can, in some of these guns, you can just pull the trigger, but in this case, if I'm not mistaken, this gun has to be cocked. Davey, is that right?
The only permits I've ever had for carrying is semi-automatic, so I never had that issue with mine. You know what I mean? Mine wasn't out of revolvers per se.
Not this guy. It has half and quarter cock. Okay. Okay, Davey, thank you. That explains it. Hmm. So, because it's a 16-minute video, do you guys want to watch the full video? Or
I'm good with whatever everybody wants to do.
put a 1 in chat if y'all want to finish watching this and breaking it down with the weapon.
You never know. It might help somebody to understand this a little better.
Yeah. I would mess up the explanation all.
Well, trust me,
Yeah, me too.
when I went through classes and they were explaining to us about the guns and different things, and I was a little afraid because I heard some horror stories. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Okay. In that position, the hammer can't drop. So if it's not cocked back, it can't drop properly. Not the way it needs to, if at all.
Okay, so we're going to finish watching the video then. Low
All right.
12 wants to see it, and David Jones says he explains it perfectly. So let's finish watching this.
Let's do it.
Okay.
and or like the song that we used for that montage there, you should probably subscribe. I feel like you'll like it here. The 45 long Colt Single Action Army is one of the most iconic handguns of the American West. So iconic, it's used very often in Western films, including the new film, possibly still coming out, called Rust, starring Alec Baldwin. On October 21st, 2021, actor Alec Baldwin used this particular model of firearm in an accidental/negligent discharge that killed his cinematographer and wounded his director. In later interviews, he claimed that he didn't pull the trigger and that the pistol went off by itself. We're going to put that to the test. But real quick, we'd like to thank the people who allowed us to get this prop for the channel. Today's sponsor is Rise of Kingdoms. This month, Rise of Kingdoms is trying to focus on civilizations. Are you a Roman Empire guy or kind of more of the Viking blood? In Rise of Kingdoms, you decide. I fall more on the Roman side just because, well, Caesar's lead. Comment, you can get a special bonus and limited time rewards. Thanks again to Rise of Kingdoms for supporting my channel and my content. Now, back to the video. So now, of course, just like any other range video we do, it's time to show you the power of the 45 long Colt cartridge out of one of these Colt single action armies. Except instead of our typical White Claw penetration test, we now have, for this particular video, 2 White Claws spaced an appropriate distance apart for no reason that is relevant to this particular, yeah. All right, halting production in 3, 2, 1. That's weird. blank round? I don't know how that got on set.
This whole concept? It's a trap. Trap. Rated PG-13.
Weird. I'm gonna have to take that one up with the producer. Anyway, actually doing this test in 3, 2, 1. God, I love Western revolvers. This brass is expensive. All right, so we have our first claw here. We had entrance here and an exit here. That's weird. A blank round? I don't know how that got on set. Weird. I'm gonna have to take that one up with the producer. Anyway, actually doing this test in 3.
Weird. I'm gonna have to take that one up with the producer.
3, 2, 1. God, I love Western revolvers. This brass is expensive. All right, so we have our first claw here. We had entrance here and an exit here. Some interesting rippling going on in the stamped aluminum here on the claw. And then we had our second claw, which this would have been entrance here and exit here. Of course, plenty of energy to keep going. The loads that we're using today are cowboy loads. They're just a solid lead projectile where your standard pistol rounds are going to be full metal jacket, you know, some sort of coppers and coating something instead of just solid lead, where these are more cowboy loads. They're a little more appropriate to use on kind of period pieces. Older style revolvers weren't really built to handle the pressures of modern cartridges, so you use things that are slightly downloaded. They don't carry necessarily as much velocity, but still, they clearly pack a decent punch with a very, very heavy projectile. One could say much more energy than the typical blank round that should be used on every Hollywood set. Moving on. So in the accidental shooting in question involving this gun, Alec Baldwin in later interviews more recently has claimed that he did not pull the trigger, as he would never point a weapon at anyone and pull the trigger. Now, those of us with a basic understanding of firearms and or physics knows that at least one of those two things is physically impossible, and or both, considering that a live firearm was discharged and hit a person, actually 2 people. But now let's go ahead and test to see if it is possible to fire this weapon without having pulled the trigger. Now, one of the things on the 45 long Colt single action Army model 1873 in particular, it has a protruding firing pin into the area of the frame of the gun where the cylinder rests. You see, on a centerfire cartridge, this little spot here in the middle of the back of the casing is the primer. This is what ignites the round and causes it to fire. Only when it's struck by the firing pin. Now, if you pull the hammer back, you see this little bit right here is the firing pin that strikes the primer and causes the weapon to discharge. Now, on this revolver, when the hammer's all the way forward, you can see that the firing pin is actually visible through the side as protruding into the area where the casings are, where it strikes the primer. So let's go ahead and load our live round. We have a otherwise empty revolver here.
Stop for a
I'm showing
second.
you I'm doing a basic safety check because I'm responsible for what happens on the set of my...
I just want to mention, I just happened to notice that, see that when the hammer is not cocked, that trigger's not out where it should be to be fired. So I get it now. That's what I wasn't understanding. Okay.
Bing bong.
Just a little,
Right.
yeah. Right.
All right, let's continue.
my videos. Loading our one live round here, advancing that round into the position where it will be next. Go ahead and lightly let that hammer forward. And we are now sitting on a live round. So let's see if we can go ahead and get this to go off. So as you can see now, my finger is nowhere near the trigger. We have a live round aligned with the barrel and the hammer here. And I don't have a hammer. I meant to bring a hammer out here to just show that, see if you can get this to go off without fucking puncturing the side of my hand with a sharp ass hammer. But seeing if you can get this to just go off from sheer just impact force or anything alone. Now, I don't have a hammer, but the closest thing I had in my truck was an AK magazine, which for all intents and purposes, it's basically the right tool for the job, I think. All I am succeeding in doing is fucking up the knurling on a brand new, previously unfired revolver. Trying again now, still finger off the trigger, a little bit up more from the bottom to get kind of more direct impact on this, this hammer surface here. Nothing. Let's go ahead and inspect this cartridge. If you look there, actually, we have a little bit of an indent on the back of the primer. I think you guys can agree that was a little bit of an extreme example. I don't think he was taking an AK mag and beating the back of his revolver with a live round in the chamber, or what was supposed to be a blank round, or whatever. you would have to be really, really, really beating on the back of that thing to make an indent like we did. Now, why is that? So the Piettas in particular, I don't know about other reproductions, and I especially don't know about the original model Colts, but the Pietta, like was specifically mentioned, was used by Alec Baldwin, have a firing pin here that is not fixed. So as you look here, it has a bit of give to it. I'm not sure if it's spring-loaded, but it has a bit of give so that when it's resting on that, it can move a little bit. So you're just not directly converting pressure or impact into energy into the primer. And just to prove to you, of course, this isn't a hit piece. That is the round that we had made indentations on. I'm going to go ahead and load this and prove that this is an actual live round and could be fired under normal circumstances. There you go. So let's try another method.
You're the guy with the gun, the person who would do anything to protect the ones you love. But did you know you could go to jail for simply doing the right thing?
So we're going to load up another live round here into the chamber. Advance that forward. And now, as you can see here, with the brass here, we are rotating that into place where that is now square behind the hammer. So the other possibility, and I think this is what Alec Baldwin is claiming happened, is he was practicing his cross draw and was pulling the hammer back, didn't pull the hammer back all the way, released it back forward, and that is what discharged the round. Which still doesn't explain why he was pointing a live firearm at another human being, but you know what? Semantics. That's for the lawyers to decide. Right now, we're just going to determine if that is a possible scenario in which case this gun can fire. So we're going to test that here. Put this to the test while we're in a controlled and safe environment. YouTube, we are in a controlled and safe environment. Alrighty, let's give this a shot. So the trick is going to be pulling this back to the point where it doesn't start advancing the cylinder. Right, so it seems that point's about here. So let's try to. I don't think we're going to get anywhere on that. And for those asking why we couldn't go farther back and advance it to the next one, because these have something called half cock. So if you, let's go ahead and get that live round out of there so I can demonstrate this. Again, partially struck, you can actually see where this has had multiple impacts from that free-floating firing pin on the primer, but none of which were even remotely strong enough to actually strike the round. Next time I fire this, I'm going to show you guys so you can see what an actual struck round looks like. This is definitely making an impact, but it's nowhere close to being something that is fireable. So when your hammer's all the way forward, okay, you pull it back, that's full cock, right? Giggity. Half cock is when you pull it halfway back, and it has a little catch here, and this allows you to freely rotate the cylinder. Like if you've seen me pulling out the fired brass on this, I have it at half cock. This is just kind of a safety that allows the cylinder to freely move while not in danger of firing a round. It is also important to point out that you cannot pull the trigger on half cock. Because the cylinder is freely moving, if you fired any one of these rounds without it being perfectly aligned with the barrel, it's a great way to explode, which is why they do not allow you to pull the trigger while you have it in this setting. And if you pull the hammer any farther back than half cock without going to full cock, it just sets you right back to half cock. So that impact has to be made before you get to half cock, and realistically, it has to be before that cylinder starts to rotate. Otherwise, that primer does not align with the firing pin, so it doesn't even matter. So it has to be in this range here. All right, now, of course, just to show you, this is the round that we were striking earlier. This is still a live round. I am not flubbing anything. Put that back in the gun, and it is fireable. That is what a round looks like when it has been struck. So you see the indentation on the primer is significantly deeper. Something, the gun likes it when it's deeper. I don't know. Now, I'm going to load up 3 more rounds real quick because I'm going to demonstrate what I think might have actually happened. I think this is the most plausible theory outside of intentional homicide, which I'd like not to think about. And quick shout out to Tim from Military Arms Channel, because I think he just did a video, I think like a day before we filmed this. And I think he had a similar theory as to mine. I'm moving to an empty cylinder real quick just to demonstrate. On these old revolvers, it is possible to already have your finger on the trigger and not pull the trigger, but just have pressure on the trigger and pull the hammer back and completely miss the sear that disconnects the trigger there. So it is entirely possible that Mr. Baldwin was not actively like pulling the trigger, but just had his finger in the right place, drew his revolver, and fired a round. I'm not going to demonstrate that from a draw, just because that's basically swinging around a loaded gun with your finger on the trigger and a live round in the chamber. That's safe, and as it turns out, not good for your staff. But this in particular is why it is popular in Western movies to be able to fan revolvers. That is what allows that to happen. Now, of course, that's just my theory. If I'm incorrect and if I've been completely wrong on all this, I owe Alec Baldwin an apology, and I'll man up to that. But so far, this seems like the most likely thing to me. This, of course, still does not explain why there was live ammunition on set for any reason, especially since he was not just an actor in the film, but also the producer, you know, the kind of person whose job it is to make sure shit like this doesn't happen and that there isn't live ammo on set. It does not account for the failures of the people whose responsibility it was to make sure shit like this couldn't happen in the first place. the armorers, etc. I just kind of hope, as with Darwin Awards, this just goes to show you guys that you need to respect firearms no matter what state they're in or whatever state you're told they're in. You need to verify. If somebody says a gun isn't loaded and they hand it to you, you don't just start willy-nilly pulling the trigger. You verify, you look through, you do the basic safety checks, and that applies to everybody, not just gun guys, but anybody who is handling a firearm, period. I feel like I accidentally might have gotten kind of preachy there, so I'm going to use this prop gun here and take out this can of Shiner Light Blonde. As a new Texan, I think it's important that I defend the good name of Shiner Bach. Get rid of this shit. Don't worry, Shiner, the prop department told me this is unloaded. Okay, I purposely angled that so I might hit the steel target behind that, and I totally fucking heard it. I don't know if that came through on camera. Fuck, apparently all I have to do to hit targets at fucking 30 yards is shoot through a beer first. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you thought my theory at least makes a little bit of sense in this context. Of course, none of us outside of Mr. Baldwin and literally everybody else who was there on set that day, and probably a handful of attorneys, will ever know what actually happened that day. But if you have your own theory, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. That's all I got for you today. I'm going to go ahead and put this big iron back on my wall. I appreciate you guys watching to the end. And as always, I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks.
Okay, first of all, I absolutely love this guy. Second of all, if you haven't, go over there and like and subscribe up to his channel if you are actually curious about the mechanics and firearms, because he reviews a lot of weapons and it's actually kind of amazing. If you are a safety gun enthusiast as well. So
Well, that answered quite a few questions for me.
like,
Well, I was curious about the whole, how it couldn't fire without you cocking it back, and he really fully explained that for me, where I totally get it now. And also explained the possibility of how that actually occurred. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yep.
But ultimately, my big question is, why are we still using real guns on sets? Period.
And why
This
were
is
live
this is
rounds on
yes,
set, period.
right.
And why didn't the producer do his job and manage his departments and know whether or not there were live rounds on his set?
That's
Right?
so puzzling that there's no accountability. That I see what they've done and they've held Hannah responsible, but ultimately, come on now, he's had a lifetime of experience in this field of work. It's not something new to him, and I'm pretty sure he understands how the seriousness of that job position that he put her in. I don't think she was
Yes.
fit for it.
Yes, they do, Chris Dehaney. Dehaney. I don't know how to pronounce it right. I apologize. I'm terrible pronouncing last names and sometimes first names,
Yeah,
depending on how they're spelled.
that's what I'm saying. There's plenty of recreations out there of guns that don't have to be real guns.
Dehaney.
Doheny. Got it. Sorry, man.
Davy Jones is right on this one, though. Prop guns are no safer when there is live round in there, and that's true, Sammy. That's which leads it all back to this. Why were there live rounds on that set and the producer not know?
That's true. I didn't think of that. I am so puzzled. I mean, really, still, as to how they've come to the conclusion that unless now taking that job and doing that, part of that might have been the way that the responsibility is removed from everyone else by you taking that position and you claiming all of that responsibility solely on yourself.
That is true, Davy Jones. There is no safe gun. And yes, Brandon Lee, the legend himself, was killed by a prop weapon.
Mm,
That is very true.
yeah.
Yep. Alrighty, I am going to be opening up the phone lines, everyone. But first of all, before we open up the phone lines, and you can talk on any case that we're discussing, but have y'all heard the recent news in the Madeline Soto case? Not involving fake phone, not involving fake phone calls with Rick Armstrong.
I've heard a little bit, but I don't know what you're referring to specifically. So why don't you bring it forward?
Okay. So first I'm going to read this article. Involving the Madeline Soto case. And then I'm going to play a clip from JLR Live. I did somewhat look for the letters. I have reached out to obtain the actual letters from the person who released them. So hopefully I will be able to get them. I don't have the actual letters, so I'm going to play it from JRL where he shows them on screen and reads them. And JLR investigates. His link is in the description below as well. But first, I would like to cover this news article because I have from the very beginning thought that Jennifer Soto played a part in her daughter's death because of her own lies involving her interviews on her daughter's disappearance before we knew she was no longer alive. So I'm going to play this. And again, if you would like the links to this, it is in the description below as well.
Information on a story that has really grabbed our community's attention and made national headlines. It's a new discovery in 13-year-old Madeline Soto's murder case. This is News 6 at 6. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Ginger Gadsden. Hours after the teen was reported missing, 2 different cars drove to the area of St. Cloud, where deputies later found Soto's body. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest has the details on this bizarre story.
So my daughter was dropped off close to school this morning, but never made it.
Just hours after Jennifer Soto reported the disappearance of her 13-year-old daughter, Madeline, Kissimmee police began investigating 2 different cars.
According to this newly released report, those 2 vehicles were suspected to be involved in the case.
One of the cars was this silver Lincoln MKZ that belonged to the mother's boyfriend, Stefan Stearns, who's now charged with Soto's murder. The other was a white 2022 Nissan Sentra. As you can see, the owner's name is blacked out in police reports.
So we do not yet know who typically drove that Nissan.
On February 26th at 8:31 in the morning, the day Soto disappeared, surveillance cameras reportedly captured video of Stearns' Lincoln leaving the apartment complex where the teen lived with her mom. According to police, Soto's body could be seen slumped over in the passenger seat. About an hour later, cameras at a nearby office building allegedly captured video of Stearns' car entering a parking garage and someone moving a female body from the front seat to the trunk. At 10:14 a.m., Stearns' Lincoln is photographed returning to the apartment complex, police say. A few hours later, it leaves again.
So where did Stearns' car go? Well, according to this newly released report, detectives were able to retrace its movements using automated license plate readers, traffic cameras, and other surveillance video.
After Stearns' Lincoln left the apartment complex at 12:44 p.m., detectives say they have video evidence showing it traveled east on US 192 towards St. Cloud and then turned south on Old Hickory Tree Drive. That just happens to be the area where authorities would later find Soto's decomposing body. Nearly an hour later, police say the car was photographed along US 192, headed back to the apartment complex.
Again, that was the silver Lincoln belonging to Stearns. But what about the second car, that white Nissan Sentra?
According to investigators, the following morning at 3:16 a.m., the Nissan is photographed leaving the apartment complex and heading east towards St. Cloud along nearly the exact same route as Stearns' car took the previous day. Detectives say the white Nissan also turned down Old Hickory Tree Drive, where Soto's body was eventually found. About 35 minutes later, investigators say the white Nissan got back on US 192 and returned to the apartment complex.
So the big question, who was driving that white Nissan? Well, at this point, that still remains a mystery. These records do not indicate whether detectives think it was Stearns, maybe returning to the crime scene in a different vehicle, or perhaps someone else. We will be learning a lot more in the days and weeks ahead as Stearns is prosecuted. Mike DeForest, News 6.
Okay. So I agree with that, Davy Jones. I agree with that. She dresses really, really warm for such warm weather. Yeah. So who drives a white Nissan vehicle? Does anyone know? Does Jen Soto drive a white Nissan?
I thought the MKZ was her car. Was it? Oh, for sure she knew. You know why I
Absolutely.
say that? In my mind, there was too many lies, too many things that she bared witness to that never happened. Lies. That woman is not. She is so totally. Oh, I can't even.
Okay, so this is from JRL. He had the actual letters that were sent to Stephen Stearns. He has copies of them. I have to get them. But this is from his life, and I would like to share this with you guys real quick. Because you got to think about this one. Stephen Stearns' mom is talking directly to him. Why would she say these things directly to him? Unless she herself really was convinced. I'll let you watch and then I'll get to it.
And I want to put trust in the docket of putting out accurate information. I don't think this is fake. I think this is a legitimate email that Stefan Stearns' mom had with Stefan. So it's interesting. So I'm going to spin the camera around. We're going to look at this right here because this is a bombshell. This is a bombshell, folks. Seriously. So what it says, and at the end, you'll see mom. This is Stefan's mom sending him an email. You don't see the commissary and cannot order anything, ? You don't see the commissary and cannot order anything? I hope that gets resolved quickly. Do you remember your balance? Jail and prison are not meant to be comfortable. All part of the mental punishment, I guess. Stay positive. Talk with your attorneys. I keep thinking about how you would not even rat out a friend. It really made me mad, and I felt like you valued them over us when you let them get away with stuff. Don't be doing that again. We all know, redacted, it's Jen, folks. We all know that Jen was heavily involved in this, and I am disgusted that she is free and you are not, when this is not all your fault. You need to think about yourself more and her less. She sure isn't thinking of you and how she can help you right now. That whole family is willing to stay quiet and let you take the fall for everything. When you do that, you are hurting us too. Please get out of your head over this and start talking with your attorneys. This stuff is serious, and you need to approach it as life and death, which it is. I think of all the craziness Jen lived through with blank various partners. Interesting. Not a stable life at all for a child. I do pray for blank and for you daily. I am thrilled that you are working out again and have a physical outlet for the stress. I hope you can get your coffee and candy straightened out quickly. So far, I haven't seen a cancellation on Congo. Let us know as stuff filters down to you through the system. This origami book is just paperback. No paper, just patterns if I read it right. Well, I am off to feed the curly ones now. She's talking about the poodles. She runs a poodle business, by the way. Love, hugs, and prayers now and every day and night. Mom. This is wild stuff. The mom, well, one, the mom is in denial that her son is involved. Let's be real. The mom might.
So there you have it. The letter Stefan's mommy wrote him. What do you think about that, Sammy?
Well, I think that more happened, of course, as you all know, behind the scenes than we are aware of, the truth. And what if this was a case of he never did take that child's life, but mommy did? And him being in love with mom took it upon himself to help. And in the end, he's already a dirtbag, you know. So this kind of
Y'all,
goes right along with him taking the fall if he didn't do it. But ultimately, they're both guilty in my book. That's my opinion only.
well, no, Sammy, it's not just your opinion. I share that opinion with you. I mean, I've shown the records in previous videos. They're on my channel where Jennifer Soto lied about Madeline, witnessing Madeline getting ready for school. She lied about that. Madeline was already dead.
Yep.
And this is going to be an unpopular theory. As sick as it is, I believe Stefan himself thought that he was in a love triangle with both Mommy and Madeline.
Me too.
And I believe that Jennifer thought she was caught in her sick, twisted way in a love triangle between her, Madeline, and Stefan. From the Reddit posts that I've read that were Stefan's, to the behaviors and stuff going on, I cannot help but assume that Stefan Stearns had a problem. Jennifer knew about it, and in some sick, twisted way, was feeling like she was competition with Madeline while using Madeline, dangling Madeline in front of Stefan to keep him in a relationship.
I think that mommy has issues to begin with, long before he ever came along.
Absolutely, Davy. Go ahead, Sammy. Sorry. I'm disagreeing.
I'm just saying, I think she had issues long before he came along. Not to say that he is not a problem, because he is a dirtbag. He belongs where he's at, and he should never get out, my opinion. But I believe that he caused problems between mommy and daughter that maybe they didn't know how to handle. And I don't think that her mom was in the right mind. I think Jen has lost her ever loving mind before all
I
of
think,
this. I don't think she
yeah,
was right.
I agree with that. I think she was a sick person before Stefan
Yeah.
Stearns ever ended up in her life. It's no coincidence that they were both working at Disneyland.
But I think that it caused enough strife between the two ladies that something happened. I think something happened, and I think she's running from it, from her responsibility in all of this. And she is going to let him take the fall, and they are going to keep quiet.
Yeah.
His mama's right.
I agree with that. We want to know what you guys think. We want to hear the voice of the community. I am turning on the phones.
And you can say what you want about these emails. Honestly, I couldn't imagine being a parent of someone behind bars, and especially for what he's behind bars for right now. Unbelievable. And I don't know if that's their only child or not. I really don't care. But ultimately, I couldn't imagine having to make these emails or phone calls or anything in that position. So they may say some dumb, silly ass shit, but oh well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut. I'm so sorry.
Davy, I suspect the same thing myself. I'll go one further. I think it's their perversion that brought and kept them together. I think so too, sadly.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
The phone number is 870-266-6949. The phone lines are open and we are receiving calls. I look forward to your calls.
There isn't a chance in the world that mom didn't know. There's just not a chance in the world. I'm sorry, but I just don't believe it.
Well, we know that from her own lies and statements. She knew Madeline was dead. She lied to the either she knew it and was covering up for Stearns, or she knew it because she was a part of it and covering her own butt. Because of her previous statements to police, her sworn written statement to police when they reported Madeline Soto missing.
I believe that Madison Soto died at the hands of her mother. That's what I believe. That's my opinion, and that's what I will always believe.
I do think it's a possibility that Stefan ended Madeline's life. I do think that is a possibility. However, I have to say this there's been conflicting statements made. One person said that it was strangulation, and the other person come back and said that it was blunt force trauma. If it's blunt force trauma, I'm telling you, 100% Jennifer is the one that did that. And the reason I think that is because of Jennifer Soto's own statements in they hadn't had a fight or anything like that in 2 weeks, which tells me that they were fighting with each other. They were fighting with each other. If it
That's what
comes
I
back
think.
and we do find out that it was actual strangulation, I do have to agree that it is a high probability that it was Stefan Stearns that actually ended Madeline's life. But at this point, until I know whether it was blunt force trauma or strangulation, the verdict is out for me on it of who actually ended her life. However, I do think there is enough evidence at hand to prosecute Madeline Soto for felony interfering in a case 100%. And she is just as big of a liar and just as involved in Madeline Soto's death as Stefan Stearns.
I want to state the obvious here, though. When you're looking into cases, victimology is so vitally important to help you to understand how this person succumbed to their situation.
Yep.
So ultimately, you would understand the relations between each individual in their life, their behaviors, their thoughts, their intentions. Those are part of victimology. And everything about victimology is vitally important for you to know firsthand, besides all the other stuff, because the other stuff will fall into place. Victimology, remember that. That's vital.
It is. Sammy, you are 100% correct. 100% correct. And the sad news is, in poor Madeline's case, she could have fallen victim to her own mother as much as she did Stefan. And I think she did. I honestly think she did. There is no way, there's no way a woman is not going to know something is going on with her child unless she is detached from that child. And if she is detached from that child, then guess what? Detachment is another kind of red
Can I
flag
ask
in
a
victimology
question?
of being
Part of
felicide, becoming a victim of felicide.
I want to ask a question, okay? And this is in very much in seriousness as much as I am joking too. But how many of you have had a mom that ever tell you I could choke the shit out of you?
I've never told my kids I would or could choke them like
No. But I've had a mom who's said that to me from time to time in my lifetime because I said or did something that she did not like or appreciate. But when it is said, I mean, think about it. I've had that kind of mama. I love my mother, but I'm going to tell you right now, you know, it gets said. How many times does that actually come to fruition? I'm just curious.
I
So
don't know. I can.
I'm gonna give you an example, okay? I have a little brother. We were in the Sears store and he was 5 years old and we had tons of cousins. I bet if I had 50, I had 100. Okay? And we were all the time playing. Most of our cousins were older than us. And so we were exposed to a lot of things. So let me give you an example. Here we are in the Sears store. Mom's not watching us. Me and him meander off. We go down this aisle and it has all these fans. And he reaches his arms out and he screams out loud, "Look, Mom, I'm getting a BJ." And I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to
Oh
die.
my goodness.
Yeah. So I go and I get my mom. She said, "Was that your brother?" And I was like, "Uh-huh." So she goes and grabs him by the hand and we get in line and I could tell by the look on her face we were in trouble. That's what I thought. We were in trouble.
Low
And
12
we get
just
in the
said
car.
something. Hold on a second, Sammy. Low 12 just said something that I think we all need to take into account because I do not believe that she was strictly talking about her situation with Stefan Stearns going on in the household. Whenever Madeline Soto did say she wanted to go live in the woods when she turned 13. I believe the reason Madeline said that is because she didn't feel safe at home because mama didn't protect her and she knew mama wasn't going to protect her. Because I think Madeline told her mama what was happening. And there are these women out there that are this level of sick that will do anything to hold on to a man that ain't worth anything. We've all seen it too many times. Look at Susan Smith. Look what she did to her itty bitty little toddler babies so she could go be with a man. Look at the cases we hear of children. I can't remember that little girl's name. Her mama traded her to a man for drugs, and she ended up dead after being abused in that dilapidated house where they found her. You know what case I'm talking about, don't you, Sammy? I can't think of the little girl's name. This is a problem in our society with family not caring about their loved ones, turning a blind eye, lying to cover stuff up, And sadly, these children that survive these kinds of lives don't get the help that they need from their parents who are supposed to protect them, but don't get them help whenever they need it. Whenever kids are traumatized like this. And then we have a completely new generation growing up, if they survive it, that thinks these kind of behaviors are okay within the family dynamic. No, it wasn't, Davy. You are absolutely correct. Correct. I said correct. You are absolutely correct. I don't think Stephen Stearns had a hold on Jennifer. I think it was the other way around. It's a breakdown. It's a breakdown in justice. It's a breakdown in moral fabric. It's a breakdown in the system. It's really a letdown by everyone that this is happening to children. Yep, that's very possible, Davy Jones. I would not doubt it a bit. I would not doubt it a bit. Right down to Mommy the politician, to Jennifer's mother, the politician. I wouldn't doubt it. I'm not going to say it's a fact, but I'm going to say I would not doubt that a bit. Call into the show. The number is on screen 1-870-266-6949. Call in. I really hear what you guys have to say and what you think. Anyways, Sammy, finish saying what you were saying about the fan and being asked.
Well, it's pointless. Never mind. But I was just trying to bring some real reality into lives of people that these things are happening to. I had a mother like that. You can imagine what she said to him in the car on the way home.
Mm-mm-mm. I'm so proud of the person that you are, Sammy, and for breaking the cycle. You're an
Well,
amazing person. You are
it's
an
just
amazing person.
it's about it's about finding yourself and what is inside of you, what strengths do you have, and focus on those, and don't take your crap out on other people, and especially not your children. You
Yeah.
know.
Your children, whenever you do go through, whenever, because I've been through things, Sammy, it wasn't at the hand of my mother and father,
Well, see, I
but
think her mom was sick. I think her mother was sick. And I don't think that she even recognized her own sickness, how sick she was, and it led to something horrific happening to this child.
Davy Jones, I often wonder myself if it doesn't end up the reason Jennifer is not in prison is because she is going to be a star witness while she's not been arrested. Is she under protection because there was that angle to it?
Well, there may be so much more to this than we could ever imagine because you know how much crap was found on that phone. This is not just a solo one person. I'm sorry, but this person did not just have this behavior all by themselves. I think they belonged to, circles of friends that did these things and paid for these things. That's what I believe. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
Yep, I agree. Anyways, you guys, it doesn't look like we're going to get any callers. Looks like it's going to be a slow night, but it's okay. At least we don't got to plant callers. Sorry. I shouldn't. I
Yeah,
got to be good. I got to quit that. I got to quit that.
right. It's all in the, yeah, whatever. We
Yeah.
got this. But it's, the truth
Oh,
hurt.
also, one more thing before we go, though. Sammy, have you heard what Sebastian Rogers' dad said in the news interview? Like, I think it was the night before last or last night.
No, I've been busy working,
He
planning,
said that it
sleeping.
is. He said that they're no longer searching for Sebastian. It's a recovery operation.
Okay, I did hear that, but not through him.
He did say that.
Ugh.
So, what do you think about that?
I think it's sad because I don't know that we should ever stop looking for any of these children, not ever. And to try to call it like that, I think not that it's premature because we already know the statistics and it's sad. But, you know, I just I don't understand how, because really it hasn't been that long. And what if he is still alive out there somewhere? I don't know.
Do you think? Do you think part of Seth's statements have to do with the fact that he has seen everything on YouTube and he has heard everyone else's opinions and speculations and stuff,
Well, did he
and
did
that
he
maybe
say
let
did
me
he say
finish.
this was for sure?
He said that it's a recovery operation. Seth said this is a recovery operation.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's seen enough that he himself speculates that there's a
Oh
good
yeah.
chance?
Well,
Yeah,
to be
that
really, really
Sebastian is
honest,
no
you
longer.
know, you know the statistics. You know that this is every day that goes by, the chances are slimmer and slimmer. I hold out hope because there've been cases, where young ladies have been found alive 10 years later because they were held captive. I don't know, but
None
I
of
think
this
there's
behavior, none of this behavior is consistent with the parent of a missing kid.
oh no.
Any
No,
which way around, any which way
no,
around. I hate to say it because while I'll be honest with you, I don't think Seth had anything to do with Sebastian's disappearance.
me
But
neither.
I think that a lot of the drama and stuff that has been brought out into the case, I think could have completely been avoided. And I
Oh, for
think that a
sure.
lot of that is because of people that Seth surrounded himself with.
Look, the man was lost. He was hurting. He needed some help. And it sounds like if you're working 12 hours a day, how much time is left to sleep? What's left of your life? So think about that. Anyway, ultimately, he was reaching out to people that he thought were genuine, that he did not know, and he got burned so bad. That makes me I'm so disgusted. But I think that he's seeing now.
I agree with that, Davy. I agree with that. As a parent, until you do see with your own eyes or are told by a medical examiner that your child is no longer alive, you hold out
You're
that
not going to
hope.
believe it. Yep.
You're not going to believe that they are gone. What is going on in the Sebastian Rogers case? You guys, I've seen convolution and I have seen lies and I have seen different stories get told and I have seen people insert themselves and become the drama in the case. Davy Jones, I do believe that Seth is not as educated as some of the people that are scamming him. I agree with that.
Right. Right. Oh, for sure.
But yes, that's something else. Low 12. I'm glad you brought that up. The reward. Why isn't there a reward for Sebastian Rogers? Do y'all know all the money YouTubers have made off of the case? All the money that has been made on the GoFundMe's and all of the YouTubers and no one has come together and put up a legitimate reward. But let's also be fair about it. That's also the sheriff's department job to actually handle that reward. But why is it not there? Something does not add up in this whole case. Yes, Davy Jones, there was one, but it got messed with exactly, and it was never rectified. There's never been a rectification for any of it. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, from what I know legally, with the searches and stuff involved in Sebastian's case, this has been more than just a missing person case for a while now. From a legal standpoint, it's been more than a missing person case for a while now. And I think that's something else everyone neglects in Sebastian's case. I've been working on a short series and I decided to break it down into different parts. And now I'm having to go down and break it into different parts. And because I'm not using the docuseries, I'm having to go back and completely rework it. But so we all think Jennifer Soto is involved in Madeline Soto's case. I mean, in her daughter's death. So here's a question for everyone. Do you not find it alarming that Jennifer Soto and Katie Proudfoot both said that they just want their kid to be okay? What do you mean you just want them to be okay? Don't you mean I just want them home safe and sound? Don't you just want your baby back? What do you mean you want them to be okay? And here's the funny thing. Sebastian and Madeline went missing on the same day. Jennifer Soto gave her interview saying, I just want Madeline to be okay. Almost 7 days before Katie Proudfoot said the same thing. I can't help but wonder if Katie Proudfoot didn't see Jennifer Soto's interview. Well, that wasn't who you wanted to take a lesson from and how to talk when your child's missing. Because now we know that Jennifer Soto lied without a shadow of a doubt to police. That's irrefutable. That's irrefutable.
Well, I
Davy
couldn't be
Jones,
more disgusted.
Davy Jones, I thought about that too. But here's the whole thing. If they have anyone that is certified at that behavioral modification camp, that person is mandated to report. And with Sebastian being national news, national headlines that he's missing, and that the parents themselves have filed a missing persons report on that child, they are mandated by law. If they are accredited.
If they are not, and they are not mandated to report anything, this
There's
has
a whole
become
bunch.
criminal. They
Yep,
are criminal.
Very criminal. Very criminal.
And I'm sorry, but you know what? Nothing says that I am so ready to get on with my new life than to
Then
take
leaving the
off
house
and sell your house.
days.
Come on.
Try to sell your house. Remember, according to the neighbor, houses aren't selling because everybody just wants to call and ask
That's
questions
their
about
full
Cliff and Katie
intention.
Proudfoot.
Don't care.
Yeah, that I agree. That's likely their full intention, but it's not what's happening for them. Shady doings, you guys.
Actions do speak
Shady
louder
doings.
than
The
words.
whole case. And now all the stuff. I don't know if y'all watch other YouTubers, but all the stuff with the other YouTubers involving this case and all of the drama on multiple levels, like everywhere you look, someone has put their hands in and had a doings with, and there's still a missing little boy out here with no reward. It's just it breaks. all logic for me. It just breaks all logic.
Remember
So
this, victimology is vital in every case, whether the person is alive or not, or whether you know they're alive or not. Victimology matters. Learn all that you can about that and start there.
I do agree with that, Davy Jones. Corruption is on every level, and people that have backings and stuff like that. I mean, look at what just happened in the Rust trial. Let me ask y'all a better question about the Rush trial. Do y'all think that if Alec Baldwin weren't a famous actor and producer, do you think that he would have walked out of that courtroom today?
He would have been fried chicken.
I think that happens in a lot of cases, Davey. Corruption is very real. Corruption is very real, sadly. And it's a time we live in. It's a systemic problem, and it'll only get worse. Because sadly, whenever we speak of corruption, we're not speaking of the children of these people that commit this kind of corruption or affected by this corruption. And whenever you're affected by it, there's one of two ways your life can go. You can either end up on the bad side of what happened to you and become a part of it, or you can choose to stand up and be against it and tell others your story to help prevent that from happening to another person. Or you can go out and do good in the world, you know? But the two options are you can either go down the right path or the bad path whenever stuff like this happens. And that's something I was saying earlier. Sammy, it's very, very rare that I meet people that are able to overcome what they've gone through. It's rare. And I even know that
Well,
with myself, what I've overcome, that it's rare to not become a
what
part of the
anybody out
statistics
there
that
that
you were.
has gone through that stuff or is going through that stuff, you are so much bigger than that stuff. You are so much more important than that stuff, and you're stronger than that, and you will survive. But you've got to go within. You've got to find you got to find you somewhere inside there. Took me forever. I managed to get where I'm at today through the grace of God and all of the loved ones I had that did have their head on right to help me when I needed it. Um,
Amen.
so it's
Amen,
just
Sammy.
thank you to everyone else in my life who has put up with me, who has helped me through all of these things because I love you all. Um, and it's, I think everybody's got something going on or has had something going on. And I think how you handle yourself today, here, right now, is what matters the most. And if you keep that in mind every single moment of your day, when you have these intrusive thoughts or things going on, just remember the choice you make right now, today, and how you choose to behave and how you choose to nurture yourself is what's going to make you or break you.
Yep, I agree with that. Well, you guys, it's been 2 hours. I think we touched quite a few topics and caught up on a little bit of the news. Thank you, Low 12. Thank you. Thank you. And Davy Jones, that's true. It's a sick world we're living in, and that does happen. It does, sadly. But you guys, we are at the 2 hour mark. And I know that, I'm not, y'all know I try not to go past 3 hours, even though we have had, almost a 5 hour live one time. Because it's a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest. Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you would like to know any of the links that we used, I will be editing and adding the gun demonstration, the revolver demonstration video, into the description below, but we did put it in the links. And the links are going to be in the description below as well if you would like to see those again. I just want to say thank you to everyone that joined us, for everyone who's watching. and remind you to please hit that like and subscribe and share. We do have memberships if you are interested in that. And speaking of which, you guys, I am going to be sharing the movie If with everyone. I watched it with my family, and you guys, you might want to watch it with yours too. I'm going to be sharing it on the members only Discord. We're all going to go in there and watch it again together because I tell you what, it made me cry. It made me nostalgic. And that's one of the kind of movies that we would show on our members only Discord because we do talk more than just true crime in the members Discord, and we only talk true crime on the subscribers Discord. So, well, Davy Jones, good night. Davy says it's 4 a.m. for me. Maybe I should turn in before the sun makes me burst out in flames. Been there. I've been there and done that. It's 9 a.m. here, so you're a good distance from me. Wow. Get you some good rest, and don't let the sun catch you. So, with that said, you guys, thank you for being here again. Please like, subscribe, share. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And remember, as always, lock your doors and windows and stay vigilant. It is crazy out here. It is crazy out here. Also, go check out the Vault XL. She just covered a video on the woman who was murdered because of a drive-through order by a woman who had already stabbed a pregnant woman and been released back into society, mind you. That's the Vault XL. I'll type it into chat. Go over there and check out her YouTube channel. She's one of my favorite people, but go watch her new video on the Church's chicken murder. It's crazy. You're in the Netherlands, Davy. Oh, that's awesome. That is one place I would love to visit. I hear it's beautiful. I hear it's absolutely beautiful. That's on my bucket list. I have other friends that live in the Netherlands that I play World of Tanks with. Yeah. For those that didn't know, this girl right here is a little bit of a gamer. And if you don't play World of Tanks, go check that out too. Yes, I like to drive around and be the tank and blow up other tanks, okay? And it's very, very realistic. It's not like the old Atari tanks, you know, where you had to, it's awesome actually. And they base it off of uh, real physics and dynamics. So it's pretty cool. But anyways, you guys, lock your windows and doors, keep your head on a swivel, and stay vigilant because it is a crazy world out here. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember to always share a smile and save a life. The life you save might even just be your own. And with that said, you guys, blessings and good night.